This story begins not with headlines, but with a family, 3 young children and loved ones left searching for answers after Anna Walshe vanished from her home in Cohasset, Massachusetts. The story of Anna Walshe is a modern tragedy, a chilling mystery that began on New Year's Day. A successful executive, a loving mother of 3 young boys, seemingly vanished into thin air. What happened to Anna? The answer, according to prosecutors, lies with the one person who was supposed to protect her, her husband, Brian Walshe. Today, we're diving deep into this haunting case, from Anna's ambitious rise to the dark secrets that unfolded behind the closed doors of their suburban home. Anna Lubitschko Walshe was born in Belgrade, Serbia in 1983, raised in a close-knit family. She was a bright and driven student, graduating from the prestigious 5th Belgrade Gymnasium and later earning a degree in French language and literature. While researching the case, I came across this report. Masked individuals targeted students at the sports gymnasium in Belgrade on the 21st of November 2025, setting off firecrackers and smoke bombs. Police responded to the scene. Officials announced that the 2 masked attackers who targeted nearly 400 students at the sports gymnasium have not yet been identified or prosecuted. Anna had bigger dreams. In 2005, she packed her bags and emigrated to the United States, chasing opportunity and adventure. She quickly made a name for herself in the luxury hospitality industry, working her way up at renowned establishments like the Inn at Little Washington. She marries a chef and they moves to Lenox, Massachusetts for work at Wheatla Hotel. It was during this period of her life that she met Brian Walshe. They married in 2016, and Anna took his last name. They built a life together in the quiet, affluent town of Cohasset, Massachusetts, and had 3 sons, who were just 2, 4, and 6 years old when their mother disappeared. By all external measures, Anna was living the American dream. She had become a dual citizen and climbed the corporate ladder to become a regional general manager for the major real estate firm Tishman Speyer. Her job required her to split time between their home in Cohasset and a demanding role in Washington, D.C. Friends and colleagues paint a picture of a vibrant, warm, and ambitious woman who was, above all else, fiercely devoted to her children. But beneath the surface of this picture-perfect life, there were deep cracks. Early 2022, Anna begins her role as a regional general manager at Tishman Speyer in Washington, D.C., commuting weekly from Cohasset to the capital. Soon after, she sells the family home in Cohasset and purchases a townhouse in Chevy Chase, D.C., creating a new base for herself during the work week. Following the move, Brian and their sons remain in Cohasset, living in a rental property, while Anna splits her time between D.C. during the week and Cohasset on weekends. Later that year, court documents reveal Anna was involved in an affair with a man in D.C. and spent Thanksgiving with him in Dublin, Ireland. Shortly before New Year's, Brian's mother hires private investigator Jeremy Dozier to conduct surveillance on Anna around Christmas. Anna sends a message to her mother in Serbia, pleading for her to come to Boston immediately. Just days later, Brian searches online for the best state to divorce for a man. At dinner in D.C., Anna confides to a friend that she believes Brian will be incarcerated for his federal case, and that she is prepared to leave him and take the children to Washington. End of December, Anna flies home to Massachusetts for the holiday weekend. New Year's Eve, Brian and Anna host a dinner with a friend named Jem. Anna was last seen on January 1st at 4 a.m. Brian Walshe's life was far more complicated. Brian was the only child of Diana and Dr. Walshe, a respected neurologist. In September 2018, Brian Walshe's father, Dr. Thomas Walshe, passed away while traveling in India, leaving Brian nothing in his estate. Dr. Walshe viewed his son as estranged, with nephew Andrew Walshe testifying that Brian had stolen nearly $1 million from his father years earlier, a betrayal that created an irreparable rift and forced the doctor to keep working beyond retirement. This sparked a lengthy legal battle in Plymouth Probate and Family Court. The following month, Brian was arrested for selling forged Andy Warhol paintings. He later pleaded guilty in April 2021 and remained under house arrest while awaiting sentencing. This wasn't a small-time con, it was a high-profile art fraud case. Over a 2-year period, Brian Walshe was involved in selling forged Andy Warhol shadow paintings on eBay. In 2016, a buyer, Ron Rivlin, paid him $80,000 for the artwork, only to later discover the pieces were fake. Walshe refused to return the money, and the case eventually led to federal charges. But he actually started this scheme in 2011 when he traveled to South Korea, where he convinced a friend to let him sell pieces from their art collection, including 2 original Andy Warhol shadow paintings. Walshe took possession of the works and later sold the authentic Warhols to a U.S. gallery. The paintings changed hands several times and eventually left the country, never to be recovered. Around the same time, Walshe obtained replica shadow pieces from an unsuspecting artist, intending to pass them off as originals. As a result, at the time of Anna's disappearance, Brian was on house arrest, confined to their home and awaiting sentencing. A shocking twist: in May 2022, Anna Walshe's mother, Milanka Lubecic, wrote a heartfelt letter to federal judge Douglas P. Woodlock. In it, she described Brian Walshe as a kind and loving man who supported her even on difficult days, and expressed gratitude for the chance he had been given to remain at home. In February 2024, Walshe was sentenced to 37 months in federal prison and ordered to pay $475,000 in restitution for the art crime. The last day of 2022 began like any other holiday. Anna and Brian hosted a friend for a New Year's Eve dinner at their home. As the night turned into the early hours of January 1st, 2023, something seemed to be on Anna's mind. She placed a series of calls to her mother, her sister, and her maid of honor, but nobody answered. According to Brian, the last time anyone saw her was around 4 a.m. His story was that Anna had received a call about a work emergency in D.C. and had to leave immediately, taking a rideshare to the airport for an early flight. For a few days, this story held, but then, on January 4th, both Anna's employer and Brian himself reported her missing. Police welfare check reveals plastic liner in Brian's Volvo. Later, blood detected in the vehicle. A massive search effort was launched, capturing national and international headlines, but investigators quickly found holes in Brian's narrative. While Anna did have a flight booked to D.C., it was for January 3rd, not the 1st, and she never boarded it. More alarmingly, her cell phone, credit cards, and bank accounts showed zero activity after January 1st. The rideshare he claimed she took, there was no record of it. The alarm bells were ringing loud and clear. On the 2nd of January, Anna's phone pinged near the Cohasset home. Surveillance later showed Brian at a Rockland Home Depot, masked and gloved. He spent $450 on an arsenal of cleaning products, mops, buckets, tarps, tape, and a Tyvek suit with boot covers. He paid cash. It was a shopping list that seemed designed for one purpose: cleaning up a horrific scene. The 3rd of January footage captures Brian Walshe discarding heavy trash bags at 3 apartment complex dumpsters in Abington and Brockton. Investigators later recovered blood-stained items, along with a hatchet and hacksaw. On January 8th, just a week after Anna was last seen, Brian Walshe was arrested, but not for murder. The charge was for misleading investigators. He had told them he'd run errands on January 1st, visiting a CVS and a Whole Foods, but surveillance footage from the area proved he was lying. His timeline didn't add up. And as detectives dug deeper, the story turned from suspicious to downright sinister. When investigators searched the Walshe family home, their worst fears began to materialize. In the basement, they found blood. They also found a damaged knife, which also had blood on it. The search expanded to a local transfer station, where they made a series of gruesome discoveries. In trash bags that had been discarded, they found a hatchet, a hacksaw, a rug, and personal items belonging to Anna. Forensic testing on these items revealed the presence of both Anna's and Brian's DNA. But perhaps the most chilling evidence of all was digital. Investigators accessed the family's electronic devices and uncovered a series of internet searches allegedly made by Brian on his son's iPad in the days after Anna vanished. The search history read like a manual for a killer. He had Googled things like, how long before a body starts to smell, dismemberment and the best ways to dispose of a body, 10 ways to dispose of a dead body if you really need to, and the most damning question of all, can you be charged with murder without a body? And how long for someone to be missing to inherit? Let me tell you. There are a lot of searches, but it's too much to list them all. On January 18th, armed with this mountain of circumstantial evidence, prosecutors formally charged Brian Walshe with murder and disinterring a body without authority. He pleaded not guilty to all charges. The man who had reported his wife missing was now accused of killing her, dismembering her body, and methodically disposing of the evidence. As the case moved toward trial, there were unexpected developments in the courtroom. Brian Walshe decided to plead guilty to 2 of the lesser charges: misleading police and improper conveyance of a human body. In a shocking admission, he confessed to getting rid of Anna's remains. However, his attorney was quick to clarify that this was not an admission of guilt for her murder. Brian was admitting to the cover-up, but he continued to deny that he was the one who killed his wife. Prosecutors were unmoved. They refused any plea deal that didn't include the murder indictment. Their theory was clear. Brian killed Anna to end their marriage and get out from under the weight of his own legal and financial troubles. They argue that he then panicked and created an elaborate web of lies to cover his tracks. For the charges he pleaded guilty to, Brian faces up to 10 years for misleading police and up to 3 years for the improper conveyance charge. These are on top of the 37-month federal sentence he is already serving for the Andy Warhol art fraud. This highlights a documented pattern of deception and criminal conduct. The path to trial hasn't been smooth. The proceedings faced significant delays. Lead investigator Trooper Michael Proctor faces scrutiny after texts from an unrelated case raised misconduct allegations. The defense is seeking access to these communications, arguing they could affect his credibility. 11th of September 2025, in another bizarre twist, Brian was stabbed by another inmate at Norfolk County Sheriff's Correctional Center in Dedham, Massachusetts. He was transported to Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center in Boston. After treatment, he was returned to the facility overnight. This incident raised serious questions about his mental state and his ability to participate in his own defense. As a result, he was sent for a 40-day mental health evaluation. Judge Diane Frenier reviewed the psychiatric evaluation from Bridgewater State Hospital. The report found Brian Walshe competent to stand trial. His defense raised no objections, and Judge Frenier formally ruled him fit to proceed. Prosecutors have announced they plan to call up to 60 witnesses to build their case. The defense, meanwhile, is likely to hammer on the fact that, despite the extensive search, there is still no body, no confirmed murder weapon, and, in their view, no clear motive for why Brian would suddenly snap and kill his wife. The prosecution will counter that the disturbing internet searches, the physical evidence found in the home and trash, and Brian's own admission to disposing of her body paint an undeniable picture of guilt. It's as a classic legal battle, a case built on a powerful collection of circumstantial evidence versus the foundational principle of no body, no crime. The impact of this case has been profound, sending shockwaves from the small Massachusetts town of Cohasset all the way back to Anna's home country of Serbia. The Serbian Ministry of Foreign Affairs has even been in contact with U.S. prosecutors to ensure Anna's grieving mother is kept informed of the proceedings. Anna Walshe's body has never been found. Her 3 young sons are now orphans, their mother gone and their father accused of her murder. The trial date is set for the 1st of December 2025. Brian's mom, Diane, also had a lawsuit. The owner of the Cohasset, Massachusetts home where prosecutors allege Anna Walshe was murdered is suing Brian Walshe's mother, Diana Peter Capozzoli, who bought the property in 2019, rented it to Diana Walshe from March to August 2022, later extending the lease through February 2023. He says Diana claimed she needed the home to recover from illness and would live there with her son, daughter-in-law, and grandchildren. Capozzoli's lawsuit argues the property was damaged during the crime scene investigation and required professional decontamination. He also claims the alleged murder has made the house unrentable, lowered its value, and that the Walshe family left physical damage including holes in the walls and a broken ceiling in Anna's bedroom. This case serves as a heartbreaking reminder of the darkness that can hide behind a facade of normalcy and the devastating toll of domestic violence. For Anna's family, her friends, and everyone who knew her as the brilliant, warm and loving woman she was, the fight for justice continues. If Brian Walshe were to be found guilty of first or second-degree murder, or manslaughter, he would not be able to inherit from Anna's estate assets. Anna's mother told Serbian media that Anna's sister, Aleksandra Dimitrijevic, plans to take the children to live with her in Canada. They are left with only memories, and the hope that the trial will finally provide the answers and accountability they so desperately seek. Thank you for watching. This is a complex and ongoing case, and we'll be sure to keep you updated as new developments emerge. If you found this video informative, please consider liking and subscribing for more in-depth reports.